Carlos Nelson with the Kansas City Business Association. And today we have a real special person on. I've been trying to get this person on the show for a minute. And she just has won another prestigious business award. I think it was last year she had won another award, something to do with Goldman Sachs or what have you. But I'm going to let her tell you about herself. Who do we have here?
Hey, good morning. Thalia Cherry, CEO and founder of the Cherry Company. We really specialize in collegiate and sporty apparel, as well as merchandise, and support universities and schools across the country with our amazing product.
All right. As I do with all my guests, you know the drill, sis. So let's begin your chronological history to where you have made it in the business world right now, and talk about some of the mentors and what have you. As I said, you know the drill. Let's get busy.
All right, chronological order. Started kindergarten at Kitty College in Kansas City, Kansas. Anybody from Kansas City, Kansas knows Miss Williams had the fear of God in every child. To the point of that when I took my daughter to Kitty College, I was still afraid of Miss Williams 26 years later. So started there, and I think it was fundamentally a big part of shaping who I was, because it was such a part of the extension of the village for my parents. Went on to go to parochial schools from K through 12, graduated from Bishop Ward High School in Kansas City, Kansas, then ventured to a liberal arts school in Lynchburg, Kansas.
Oh, I want to go back.
Okay.
Bishop Ward, let's get back busy with that. Run that down, the social structure. When you went to Bishop Ward as a freshman, was that a changing environment, or what was that like? Go through your 4 years at Bishop Ward.
It wasn't necessarily for me a change of environment, because as I said, I went parochial schools K through 12. So in parochial systems, who you go to elementary school kind of shifts with you when you go to high school. So you already have a base of people that you already know. And so for that 4 years at Bishop Ward, I played volleyball, softball for all 4 years. No, sorry, volleyball and basketball for all 4 years.
So you was a dual athlete?
Dual athlete, and then ventured for a moment, which you'll love and appreciate this, is track for 1 year. And I said, there's no way track athletes are superior. They're just, I really recognized then I was really much more attached and leaned more to team sports in a group, because I thought if I lost in track, it's all on me, because it's more individual.
Right. All we have is the relays. But yeah, it's no copping out on that. So tell me this, when you was a freshman, did you know what you wanted to do with your life?
Not at all. Gosh, my freshman year, that seems so long ago. My freshman year, I just knew I just wanted to play sports. It was just, that was important to me. I love the camaraderie. I love the team unity. And so I don't really my freshman year. And really, to be honest, even my senior year, I just knew I was going to college. So I am.
You hadn't through high school, you hadn't worked out. This is my plan. You know, some people they got their life planned out and follow the blueprint.
I think the blueprint was laid out by my mother, which many know, Mary Ann Flunder. She was adamant about college. We were so very fortunate. All of my brothers and sisters received athletic scholarships.
How many?
I come from
tell our audience about your siblings. How many you had?
So they're 8, and I am the youngest of 8. So they laid some great groundwork around college. I'm from the age of like 6. I was on college campus all the time. You know, when we do parents weekend and things of that nature. And so we all played a different sport that I think we really were specialized in and strong in.
You had sisters, or how many sisters did you have, and how many brothers did you? Because I met one or two of your brothers, I think.
So 5 brothers, and there are 3 girls. So, and you know too, Carlos, that my parents, they did something that I think that was very, at this day and time, we would probably say that it went against all rules in relation to education. So every March, particularly usually through the spring break period or time period, they would take us to the NAIA basketball
Well, you
tournament.
know, that's where I met your mom at. She was a fixture down in that bad boy, had a whole section, the KCK and KCMO guys that was there, like they was visiting the Pope or somebody every year.
And back before, there were health standards around food, I remember us cooking tons of food, then traveling to the games and sitting there all day long, 8 a.m. probably to 10 o'clock at night.
You talking about old Kemper Arena?
Or was yeah, it was a Kemper at the time.
Because when I moved here in 78, people in Kansas City, they would take this day off from school and the day off from work to go down to that NAIA tournament all day long.
So you're not really, for me, the thread you're going to see is that sports was just entrenched in everything that we did. So I was fortunate and blessed to go on to Bethany College to play volleyball and softball.
What?
My first.
Hey, Sherry, see, I've been knowing you. You didn't tell me. I really never knew that you had any athletic prowess.
Wow, that's interesting. So those years were great in sports, and just again, I think that continuation of people, just coaches pouring into me, and just really having a lot of.
What coaches run that down? What coaches gave you something that you still used as today that you took away?
The program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.
I definitely, so my coach, my sophomore year in college, she coached both sports. Her name's Deb Winterberg. She still lives in Lynchburg, Kansas. And I think what was so amazing about Deb is she saw something special and a light in me that I didn't even know existed at the time. I mean, I was always a great listener when it came to coaching. Like I was always that kind of athlete. So between my sophomore and junior year, that spark just elevated. I did 3 workouts every day in the summer. I was just training and conditioning in what I understood and knew, which is very different. I mean, a lot of people, as you watch this, may think, oh, that's normal today. But in the days of the 80s, working out 3 times a day was not. So highly motivated to really that drive. And so came back that next year, won every award possible, because that really, she just put that investment into me. And it wasn't the first adult. I've had incredible adults all through my life.
Tell me this, did you ever send her some flowers, or did you ever give her a phone call and say, thank you, I want to let you know that you helped me in this particular way?
I've shared that. I went to visit my college a couple years ago. I took our son, and so he got to hear directly, because of course your children think you weren't that great athlete. So it was good for her.
Right.
To have
they all feel they can do you, and you was a bench warmer, and I don't want to hear it. But when they get it from the horse's mouth, then they had, oh damn, mom was the bomb. Yeah, I'm slacking. But
I think the moment, not only in the shaping of her seeing this incredible spark within me, the moment that shaped and shifted everything is going into my junior year. She asked what I consider in softball. The key positions I played the first 2 years was left field, second, and some shortstop. And then she said, I'm going to move you to catcher. And when she said that, one, it was frightening, because if you see a ball coming 89 miles an hour, it's not the easiest thing to receive. So she said, I really want you to work to be a catcher. And I did. And I, to this day, believe that was paramount in shaping definitely my personality. Because if you don't know much about a catcher, they dictate the entire element in the energy of the game. They make all the calls.
If you got a good coach that's teaching you that the catcher's controlling the outfield and the signs, you got to be, I wanted to say halfway intelligent. You got to be intelligent.
Well, and you see things because you see the whole field, right? So you see every element that's happening and participating in and I think, and I to this day I have that same personality of, I would dare somebody to run. I wanted you to run because I was going to nail you. That
Johnny Bench.
competitive edge and spirit has definitely traveled.
How do you feel? All right, now that speaking of that, how do you feel playing sports has shaped your personality as it relates to business?
That competitive edge is important, and being able to see as much as you can, right? To project different things within business, to forecast elements about business, but really, how does it connect in all these correlations? And that's what it really taught me, is that not only working with a vast number of people with different personalities, because that's fundamentally one of the greatest things about sports, but it also taught me in that catching position how much I can control elements associated to it. I think that it's too also, we always say the cliche, like sports really help shape people, and sports did this, and it it's it gives you instincts that you may never have gotten had you not had to work in those elements when you were playing sports. It
Hey,
just gives you
people
something
that are
incredible.
listening to Cherry tell you about sports, and I'm interrupting because my mind be leaving me. Charlie Rose, this is about 10 years ago, maybe even longer. He had the 10 top CEOs in the United States
Mm.
on his show. And the whole thing was about all of them played sports and what sports taught them as it relates to their climb to the top of the heap. Uh, and not only did they say sports was very important, a point that they pointed out, they said when they took the shops out of school, uh, where you worked with your hands, vocational stuff, he said they all of those CEOs said that was very important because you learn certain things in this theory, but you've got to be able to work with your hands and what have you. And you talking about your and I guess I just hit the right word when I said prowess, because that's everybody doesn't have sports prowess, and it seems like from what you described, you was hungry,
Yeah.
and
Drive.
uh, you, you want all them what? Because I was an athlete, and any athlete knows that you got to take it because there's other people on your team that's going to eat your meal, eat your lunch, eat your dinner. Less more your competitors.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
so there's so many elements that in preparation that give you everything they all those ingredients are vital.
So what was that like going to college now? Because see, you on one level and thinking one thing, even though you have in high school, but as you go through college, run that down with that freshman year all the way up to your senior year.
So my college was very much like my high school in Bishop Ward. So it was very small in size. And people were really supportive of one another, including, the professors and teachers. And there was a recruiter that came to, the recruitment days at your high school. And he was just the most kind, gentle person. And that's what really drew me to that school. Just genuine and authentic. And I just knew when I went to visit, that was the place for me. It was special for me. And I think that's a really important lesson to learn. Like wherever you feel special is where you should go when you're considering the college level in just choosing any school. So attended there that year, gained that freshman, I think 50. They say 15, I gained like 50. My father came to pick me up at the end of the year, move my stuff back to Kansas City. And he was like, who are you?
This?
Who are you? But great thing about when you're in college and your parents don't cook, I lost it all that summer because they weren't feeding me when I came back home. And then I think I was just so excited because on the road trips, you could eat all you want. And so I was really eating all I wanted. Fast forward to my sophomore year, we had a change of coach. That's when the coach that I talked about, she came into play, which was very, very nice. So just that adjustment, you're learning, like, are you going to really gain the eye of this coach? You need that whole new level of competition. My junior year was really that intense spark, and development just as an athlete, but just as a person. I was also team captain for both sports. And I would
How
drive
was that?
and
How
ride.
was your team captaincy chosen?
It was chosen by the coach directly. So there wasn't vote of players, and it was just the player that had the vision that could really lead her teammates, but that they highly respected. And I was a driver. So I
What
think
was that like, Cherry? Tell our audience when you first got your first captainship, and did you go home and say, "Oh, this is what I'm planning to do and lead from a leadership role"? Tell our audience what that was like. What was going through your
no,
mind?
if I had to think through my mind and how I process it is I was like, I'm just gonna be the example. I'm going to like go after a ball that looks like it would never be able to be captured in diving. I'm gonna be the example, and that's gonna really motivate my team members around me. And so that was kind of how I approached it and how it was shaped. Also got several athletic awards my senior year. You have to also know that Bethany College,
What awards did you get, if you can remember? I know.
if I can remember,
All right. Well, now
what?
memory done left you to a degree.
So there was a coveted award for specifically the conference, which was the KCAC conference at the time. And now they moved it to a different conference. But so that one was All American athlete, also first team athlete for both volleyball and softball.
I bow down, sis. I see. I hadn't. Hold it. Got a whole new found respect for you, baby girl. I'm bowing down. I didn't know that you was the star athlete on them. Killing them, Jerry.
Very similar to the demographic background of Bishop Ward, Bethany College was very non-diverse. So I
Talk
think
about that a little bit.
For me, it really put me in a position to understand in this greater world scheme how to really navigate and integrate to be successful within an environment that didn't look like me.
To assimilate.
To assimilate. And I did it fairly naturally because it was, K-12 experience. So for me, that was, I do remember some unique stories though. So I would go home with different friends, and most of my teammates were from small towns and very rural, very farming communities. And they would write in the paper about me coming to the cities, which I thought was so funny in itself. Of course, it was a week late because papers didn't go out as fast in the rural communities. But I do remember some incidents where I was a little alarmed because of what was stated, but they were very rare to happen. And I think what I really gained from my friends, teammates, and that grew up in farming communities is their pride around their family and their businesses. Oh, I mean, my teammates worked hard. So that's the big takeaways for me.
You can tell about them rural communities when football season and basketball season come for high school. Yes. Everybody is there.
Everybody is there.
Baby. Everybody is there supporting those young kids. And so, as you were describing, I was picturing the whole deal. I was picturing you. Because see, when I played sports, and I went to Catholic school in the early grades, but in high school you had the Catholic schools and the Jesuit schools. They were all white teams, and they might have one black on the team, and they would be the man or they would be the woman. And when you were describing how you were coming up, I was picturing you. I had no idea that you was an athlete, my dear.
That's so
and I would think a lot of people that have followed your success in business would not know. And that's why I like doing these long interviews where you have time to tell people a little bit about yourself. Go ahead and pick it on up, Cherry.
Then graduated from college. And you said, did I have a plan? Probably not. But Marianne was a huge influence. Marianne said, this is what you're going to major in, recreation therapy. At the time, I didn't even know what that truly meant. But she was good and made a great call. It really fit who I was. So if you're not familiar with recreation therapy, it's really given therapeutic guidance around having people take a negative behavior and then adjusting that to a positive behavior, something recreationally that they would truly enjoy. It could be sports, it could be hobbies, it could be just so that they're shifting their energies actually to be the best person they can be. So I worked at Crittenton Center when I first graduated from college. It was definitely an eye-opening experience because it was my first interaction with a lot of abuse and how children were treated by adults. And it was really earth-shattering because I had never really
Did you have to have
known
a
that it
conversation with your
existed.
mom after you after that? Because boy, your whole expression changed when you start
Mm.
talking about
I
this.
just still to this day think about some of those young people and your hope and desire that you really hoping to give them the right tools, even though their environments really aren't in the best situations. And so it was a residential facility. And yeah, I remember going and talking to my parents and talking about how difficult it was because I mean, and it may seem very naive to hear this, but I didn't know about abuse. And so but I understand how beautiful that is that I did not know. And then
That you were
worked there.
sheltered.
Well, I mean, it just didn't.
I'm
It
saying from
wasn't.
that,
It
from
didn't happen
that
in my
type of
home.
stuff.
It didn't happen in my
Right.
home,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
right?
That,
And there
you
wasn't
were a little
technology then.
sheltered, but you had not been in an abusive environment
Right.
or seen that type stuff,
Mm,
and that
Um,
you
so
probably had a pity party.
I did. We don't want to go. Yeah, we want to go into another subject.
Yeah, but I'm saying because you're
Yeah.
caring. If you're a caring person and you have
Mhm.
when you said that, I told you your expression changed, and
Mhm.
that hit me. My expression changed because if you know what abuse is, you don't even have to know what kind. Just that word, man. I was like, damn.
So there's a little bit of, I think, irony in my life experience. So I journey from being very young, very much um, oriented in a community that doesn't look like me at all, did not encounter racial tensions at all. Journey back to um, post, college, and then go into different working environments. And not, this is not in relation to Clinton by any means, but I continued to work in that space, in that arena, met some really powerful people. And I think what it really showed me, one, was empathy, and understanding that, one, I had access to resources that a lot of people did not have. I had a very supportive village across spectrums, where there was aunts,
I want
uncles.
to cut in again. All of y'all are using the same words. The my Wave of the Future high school and college interviews
Mm,
and my urban professionals, all of y'all say how much you appreciate the position you were in and you recognize that you were in a privileged position even though you were assimilating. That's
mm,
a common thread that in these long interviews that is
mm,
coming through, that y'all recognize your situation, that you were in a majority PDI or
right.
predominantly white space, and you're not no the backlash. You recognizing uh, I'm in a privileged position as a black woman or as a black uh, in here, and uh, that's a common thing. And I don't know whether y'all say that because, and when I say y'all, my guests, because you don't want to be offensive to uh, the the institutions and organizations that helped you rise, even though they weren't of color,
Mm.
or you that is
So
something.
let me really extrapolate that. For me, when that
Please.
meaning, when I really recognized the privilege, it was the privilege of my mother and father that gave me access to opportunity. It wasn't the institution.
All right, all right.
So um, even though they put me in those environments, they were making those power moves and make them happen. And I now definitely at an older age recognize that influence was huge.
That you know what you said? I loved it. You said they was making those power moves.
Power moves.
Yeah,
Power
they wasn't
moves.
just moves. It helped springboard you to where you're at.
Right.
Rolling, babe.
I was always in the institution. So post-college, I started really studying and reading a lot about different people's and different people perspectives, which I think many people go through post-college, in college, and just learning more about who and what my identity, right? So imagine walking through all white institutions, K-12, college, post-college, and I started reading some powerful literature from different writers and their perspectives. And it was my wake up moment. I started just learning and knowing how we have influenced the entire world as people of color, how our assets that we have contributed have really not necessarily shaped America, but we are the structure that really developed America. And it just set me on fire. I was so excited. I was so humble to understand the richness of our people. And that then took me through this period of tension, because then I recognized all that I had learned earlier was not truth.
The light bulb went on.
The light bulb went on.
You know,
right. That was the moment
when that happened.
24, 25. And my husband was highly instrumental in that. And because he was already in that stage of understanding and the readings and knowing, and his experience was completely different. So he grew up in predominantly, for the most part, African-American schools. And so he already knew the richness of, and I just didn't even hear him talk about not having the opportunity to go to Sumner High School, because that's when they were bused, that moment, right? That he wanted to be among educators that would just pour into his life, that was shifted. And so I think for me, that was my first moment of clarity around how powerful we are as a people. And so I went back reflecting, of course, like most people do. And I had this class in college that was an anthropology class. And when I tell you, Carlos, I couldn't get enough of that class. Like, I was like, this is amazing. Here's the powerful piece, though, that I learned later. My instructor never drew any correlation to who we were talking about were African Americans. So I was already yearning, not even knowing that our discussions were our people. He always excluded that as part of the study and part of the learning. And when I look back, I thought, wow, that's why I was so pulled. Right. Didn't even know that's why I was so pulled. I was connecting. So continued to work in the workforce around recreation therapy for probably like 10 years. If you talk to anybody that's kind of in that arena,
I had never heard of recreation therapy before, and I'm like,
many disciplines. There's music therapy, which is a great discipline too, occupational therapy. And so if most people in the industry, you have to really have a place to release.
You have to be a people person.
You have to be a people person, but you have to have a place of releasing in a healthy manner when you work and you receive all that negative, right? So I'm working with children that are abused by their fathers, young ladies, and children set on fire. I mean, you can only take in so much of that energy. And so it was really important for me. I just wanted to shift out of that kind of position, but still really help to develop people. So then I went to work at Parks and Recreation, Kansas City, Missouri. And I worked. Mark Boland was, Gates and Karen Daniels was on the board at the time. And so I was like, we're going to do amazing work. We're going to do great, powerful things in Parks and Rec. And I was working specifically with a grant around internships in the workforce. And so learned a great deal in that process. And then a position came available in the city manager's office, and they were revamping how they really impacted and connected with young people.
And who
And
gave
so,
you the shot to get in the city manager's
all
office?
right. So the city manager
This is brought to you by Willis Book and Vinyls.
at the time, Wayne Coffin, he had an incredible heart for helping young people to be great. And I say this to this day, I've never met an individual that I believe that is not from the Kansas City area that has loved Kansas City so much.
Hey, I told you, I've met Wayne at the Barnes and Noble on the plaza. And you know, I'm always trying to put a deal together or something. And I wanted to bring the black colleges here. Wayne didn't know me from freaking the Pope. And he helped me, put me with Oscar McGaskey, and Sprint Rena was just really, trying to do some things. And he gave me a date. He said, I'm gonna let you do what you want to do at Sprint, and I'm gonna give it to you for what this city gets it for. And man, I had to go around the world 50 times to deal with any of that now, to try to ask for some help on anything. You got to go through a whole lot of stuff. I got a whole lot of respect for Wayne, even though he is one of my alumni from Central State, and also he from the East Coast.
Yes.
But that whole tenureship with the city manager's office, talk about that and what you learned from that you are utilizing in your business career.
So one element that I did not mention when I was growing up is my parents owned a grocery store, and we would often have to frequent the grocery store to do inventory and stock, and sometimes even work in my high school years. And so not, it's to me at the time is I had an incredible entrepreneurial spirit. And when I started Parks and Recreation, there was some latitude to do really creative programming. And that just went to 1,000 level when working in the city manager's office. When you have leadership that just really trusts your vision and your abilities, it's an incredible feeling. And his goal was to make sure young people had access, which I knew was vital and important for my own life experiences, particularly young people of color, and that they could then really we could help shape and transform their lives and who they wanted really to be. And so we started developing and building multiple programs. I'm really proud of that we built, that there was a youth council that no longer exists today, but that they were helping to create policy because they were really important to really the life of Kansas City, because it was so important to bring
program.
It was funded.
All right.
Yeah. And then I think I can draw some pieces here to current times, in that my first summer, so this is 2005, we knew we were going to be record in murders. It was already climbing by May. And the city manager said, hey, we need to build a summer jobs program. So we did that. We did it, utilize it internally, different positions within city government. And so we started with 125 students that summer.
Is that when they started the centers like Slope on Slope Parkway? Or they started having those for the kids in the summer?
It's kind of separate. Parks has always kind of had those elements, but this was really, how do we get young people to work into the marketing department, the accounting department, so that they could really capitalize in some skill sets they really could just help them grow and help to make determination decisions on what you're going to do post high school.
They get any stipend?
They did. Yeah, we had to follow Department of Labor rules.
I think for the city to utilize some budgets on programs like that, because the kids have a different set of problems, social, educational, and economic, and just coming to a program and not being able to earn any income in summer or whatever, that don't work for the urban core for the most part.
So I remember, and many of people our age will remember this. So when I first started the program, they were like, is this the Joy program? You remember the Joy program, Carl?
Mm-hmm.
So circling back, my mother was actually over the Joy program.
I didn't
So
know.
I remember all those young people coming in the summer. They were so excited to get their paychecks. And so here I was really duplicating, just watching as a little girl, a model that my mother had created too.
How important do you feel that is in general for people of color, young people of color, to have that role model, to be able to see these things in action?
It's vital. I mean, there's some great studies that say if you have one positive adult influence, it will help shape your life. And just imagine, like, if just one, right? And I would often have a lot of conversations with young people at the time, and I would ask them, how many positive adults did you interface with today? Knowing that if you went to school, there was at least 7 teachers, knowing that if you went to a community center, there were 2 to 3 people, knowing that you also had, parents in, at least in a home, parent, grandparent. So in a day, a young person should interface with at least probably 10 to 12 people that are adults that could help shape and influence them. And it was disheartening. A lot of young people said there were no positive adults in their lives. And so I took it very personal. I took that role very personal and serious. And when someone was killed, I felt a responsibility. I felt a responsibility, even though I didn't know them, that if we could just make this more robust, and we can make our program really connect to more young people, how can we help save those lives, but also save not necessarily from life and death, but the life of just the spirit within you, right? So that you could really, just like my coach did, and that spark, it just transcended who I was. So second year, I decided, because we have government positions, we're also going to partner with corporations, because corporations, when we talk about social equity now, it wasn't any different. It looked the same in 2005. And so I wanted to really create a really strong talent pool of particularly children of color or African Americans, because that was so important, because a lot of young people were, once they go off to college, they were not coming back to Kansas City. There was no reason, purpose of why they would come back. Things have definitely changed as far as growth and development of buildings and downtown infrastructure. But I still, many of the young people
Any of
that
those
I
kids,
have,
you said, that's what I wanted to ask you. Sorry for cutting you off. Do you have, do any of them still contact you?
all the time. I would say, I mean, if there's probably in my connections per month, probably 20. They're still asking me about what they should do in marriage. They're still asking me about, and this is what I talk about, just the value of having mentors and people that listen, is because these are young people that started with me at 16, they're now 30. So they're asking me about raising their children. They're asking me about jobs and different career shifts. And so I just know, and I saw it so beautifully laid out at the city, that so many of these young people, like, it would be one supervisor that they would really connect to, or this employee they would connect to. And I would also really help to mold the staff of, this is 6 weeks, but you literally, they walk away, they should have connected to somebody here
They should
that
be
will
different.
forever be their friend. They should be their friend. I mean, you have 6 weeks. That's a long time, actually. So the second year, I decided to do public-private partnerships to expand the numbers for internships, and we bumped it up to 250. Those are some private dollars and public dollars. So by the time I left, so I started in 2005, and then I spun out to start our business in 2012. We were up to 1,000 young people for internships, summer employment, and it's just a beauty to see. There's not a moment where I can't go somewhere that a young person is telling me a story about how they were influenced and impacted. And I just think there's so much beauty in. I have the same experience when I drive to KCK, that someone's always telling me an amazing story that my father or my mother did that shaped who they were. And so having parents as your models is incredible. I mean, very few people, I think, have your both parents to be incredible models. And then just having this amazing, robust village that always was cheering for me, really.
How did your being the boy? I see that in the movies where you got 8 or 9 kids and got the youngest is a girl, and you got all them brothers. What was that like? And especially being in the athletic mode. What was that like? Were any of them athletes?
They were all of us were. So
All
everybody had
right.
a special
So,
sport.
I
So
like being the young.
so a couple things. We were so competitive. Like, so I remember one Christmas getting a bike that was so shiny. I had to be like, maybe I was like 8 or 9, but it was a more of an adult bike. And I remember my second oldest brother taking the bike out and like tearing it up because like, and I'm like, why would you be taking my bike? And it wasn't like it was so female. It was just like, why are you on my bike?
Mhm.
So I think there are a couple of things I know I gained from being the youngest. Eat really fast, right? Because you have to get the food. And I talk really fast because I had to get words in. So these are behaviors. Because I remember my grandmother fussing at me one day. And I'm like, it's not my fault. It's because I'm the 8th. And it's like the only way I'm going to earn any respect here is to get what I got to say out and eat really fast. I need some food. So it's crazy how the behaviors that you learn can continue to carry through. So yeah. So we were talking about the internships and just the great influence young adults, and even really teenagers can have on others.
I want to interrupt you
Human
again
relation.
to say this. I'm real talkative, and you are a great listener, and I know that was a real asset in working with the young kids, where a lot of adults are really not listening to them. And that probably really puts you in favor.
Yeah. Seeing some young people. So 3 young students from Shine She's reached out to me and they said, we really want to do a project for your business this year. So I've been meeting with them, and I actually meet with them today. And their first question was like, they were like, we just hope you don't treat us like high school students. And I was like, if you know my history, I believe in high school students. I am there to really.
That's who started my company right over there at Lincoln Prep. Them girls over there whipped Cascade Media, the first interviews and everything.
Yeah. So fast forward on the career trajectory, I decided to actually start Cherry Company in 2012. There are a couple elements that I felt were missing in the industry. It was really a lot around empowerment for women and when I say these, it's really more on design concept. And then how women really kind of fit in a sports space. So for many years, larger companies such as your Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour were really kind of just taking what was already a unisex product and then slapping something on it that may have said something that represented women. And I wanted to really be able to be a catalyst to actually really empower people and help them achieve their greatness, just like I've done throughout my entire career in a face-to-face, but using textile methods to actually really kind of ignite that even further. And so we started the company then. Since the inception of the company, we were able to garner 22 collegiate licenses. Our most recent is University of Kansas, which we're super proud about. And one of the reasons why we're super proud, one, because we're from Kansas, two, because the minority business office was started by my mother at the University of Kansas in it might have been like 1984. So she was the first person. And when we talk about diversity and inclusion, she was the first at the University of Kansas. The third reason is it is extremely difficult to obtain those licenses as people of color. And so when I say those and I make those comments, because I'm very grateful and in tune to is our reality, but thankful that we actually were able to do that. So we are heavily working on kind of expanding our product line and working directly with manufacturers to build even more product, specifically for our brand. And then we also create and produce product for universities too that are products of others. So in the design and implementation, the embellishment, embroidery, and screen printing. And then and we are continuing to look for opportunities that align with our mission as a company, and continue to really build our strength and value around community.
Let me cut you off again, because
I was saying something important.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying you were saying something so important. Now I'm cutting you off before you pass up. First of all, I want to. You mentioned the licensing, and you mentioned how difficult that is for people of color. And what I want to know, how do you feel you being a female open doors up for you, a female of color, in your quest for licensing and your quest to move up to the next level in business?
So I think from a licensing standpoint, they're both assets. I don't think that one has a heavier weight than the other. I think, well, let me say this: in licensing, really being a minority is probably the greater asset.
Yeah, that's what you
I
got, the
think,
double whammy. You Black and you're a woman.
and that's a great thing. I think where it really lends itself to be powerful from it being a women-owned business in sports is that, and you alluded to it earlier, is I'm a great listener. So if you think about the majority of coaches are males, and so I can really connect and understand. Many of them let me completely select their whole collections because they trust my judgment. So I think it really weighs in to be part of our success when you relate to that. But also from the women's perspective, there's just such a, it's not even, I would, movement is not the correct word, but just great identity to women, really understanding the value of supporting other women as well.
And see, I think I've had this discussion with you and other women. See, Black women, they have all these different support groups that y'all really support each other, sisters circle, this and that. But Black men, that's it's not there, and the support is tacit at best when it comes to business. And don't nobody have a tear to shed when Black male's business goes out of business, or what have you. And I've tried, because you're in a leadership position, I've tried to talk to women that are in high leadership position. We understand your problems, but I think that Black women should take a look at how they can really assist Black men to a degree. Black men have these egos and all of this other stuff, but we got to get past that. You have had a story to this point, life. Not, I wanted to say career, but I know that you are so thankful that you are came up in the household that you came up in, that allowed you to be put in these different environments that have shaped who you are and given you your values that you've been able to pass on to other youth, not only youth of color.
For sure.
Go, sis, go.
So what's really one of our most important values that we believe in it so much is that in our inaugural year of starting our company, we started the Cherry Foundation. And so within the Cherry Foundation, we utilize our financial resources to support young people in two core categories. One is education, and one is sports and teams. Because I just know, for me, it's been everything to create who I am. And I wanted to give those same opportunities to other young people, so that they would have that. And so over the tune of whatever year, our eighth year, we've donated either within product or direct capital over $500,000, because we knew that it could help reignite some young people to achieve access to things they maybe never would have the opportunity to do so. And so we also have sponsored some pretty significant events, one being So You Want a Career in Athletics. It was specifically for all high school girls, and we did that in partnership with the UMKC and Dr. Martin's team to really achieve that. And that was really about just showing young women what type of career tracks, trajectories or available and
What do you
accessible.
think about Dr.
in different
Martin?
things.
He's my partner and my fraternity brother, and I think that he is a giant in the position that he holds as a athletic director. He's had great mentors. I didn't realize that he was like the All-American and all of that coming up the same type of and that, you know what? I hate to look at it. It's like our community, the opportunity is not there. Every last person that has excelled that I have interviewed, all of y'all have the same background per se. That is in common. I'm thinking about you, and then I'm thinking because Martin and myself, I know his whole history. It's the same thing. Parents move people out of the neighborhood, put them in a better situation, and then what can we do for our masses? I want a better word. How do you feel about your community that's on the lower economic, educational, and social?
Well, I once told, so when we through this journey, we moved to the Lee Summit area, and one of my first encounters was with a principal when I had requested at our son, which was in gifted programs in Kansas City public schools, if he could be also part of the gifted program in Lee Summit. And the response of the educator was, we're not really sure. We didn't get all of his records. And I was like, well, I can make sure that happens tomorrow. I can go by, pick up the records and bring them by.
Deliver them to you in your hand.
And so then his next response was, I said he also demonstrated advance on the MAP testing. And then the educator said, and this should make every educator outraged what I'm about to say, that he said.
It is what it is.
He said, I said, so he received advanced scoring categories on the MAP testing. And he said, well, that's because it was a MAP testing in Kansas City public schools. And I think it wasn't, maybe I was alarmed at the time, but I also recognized that was his lens and his perspective.
Bias.
It was a bias, but on the MAP test, it's universal. There is not
SAT, ACT, what you talking about?
Standard.
It was taken in New York. It was taken in California. It's the same test.
The same test. I mean, we're laughing now, but it was not a laughing matter at the time. So
listen, audience, don't mess with our kids. Yeah, it's gonna be a problem.
So that was an eye opener. For sure. And then it kind of puts you on guard because you realize then, although you have this talented African male that you're raising, that somebody else is already going to influence it in a different way.
That environment that you set your future in, and your kids are your future, is so important.
So the principal goes on, we continue to have more conversation. He becomes like, I'm like the best parent that he can have around there. Because what I found is that I really needed to watch with a closer eye after hearing that first encounter. And then he went on to say, and this is another conversation, because this time there was an influx of African-American children also moving into the Lee Summit School District too. And so there was already this guard up. And I remember him saying, well, they're from the poorer area. And I said, I just want to make it really clear for you. I didn't grow up with means at all. And when you have that many children, you really aren't going to have any means. There are going to be things that are going to be passed down. But I will tell you this, in our home, in my grandparents' home, in anybody's home that I was walking into, no one ever allowed poverty to be the excuse for not learning. And it shouldn't be today. So I draw that back into full circle, is even though sometimes the conditions or environments may not look the same economically, every day you have the opportunity to go in and learn more. And so that should not be the premise for whether you have no money, some money, a lot of money.
That was like my mother always used to be like, Carl, there's no excuse for you to have dirty underwear on.
right.
You know, there's no excuse for you not washing up. I don't care if you're in rags. You can wash your face and change it. And that's what you're talking about. That you don't have to be in a palace. There's certain fundamental things that was in your home that, you know, made you really who you are. I want to go to because I want to close out. I want to go to your awards. You have won from a business standpoint. I think there was a 2020 last year or year before last. You won a Goldman Sachs award, and what you just did with the chamber. Run that down and tell our audience what those awards, your recent awards, have been over the last 2 or 3 years as it relates to you.
I'm going to list the awards because I can't remember the year correlations, but 25 under 25 was our first initial award, and it's awarded to businesses that have less than 25 employees that are kind of on the watch in the community and in what companies people should be looking to see progress. And then we won the.
And who sponsored that award?
Well, actually, the organization was oh my.
I thought it was Goldman.
That one's not Goldman. That was localized. That was local. So then went on to win the Women Who Mean Business Award, and that was in 2019. So that really wasn't that long ago. It was this time last year. So the Women Who Mean Business, they select 25 women each year that they believe are really.
Are they women of color, or are they just women in general?
So our year in 2019 class, there were 3 women of color, 3 African American women actually.
Out of how many?
25. It's always 25 selected.
Right.
Always 25 are selected. And then I got this amazing news the day before the Super Bowl that I have been selected and chosen to be Ebony Power 100. I am the first African American woman in this entire region that has ever received that award. Gives me chills because my parents would be.
You know, I know your mom be like your biggest cheerleader, babe.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Smiling like.
I mean, so when I share like on different opportunities to share our story, like to know growing up that you looked at this magazine all the time, because in the Black home, that was the magazine, right?
Ebony, listen, right now the lady downstairs, Willis Bookstore, I'm doing some advertising for. She has a host of Ebony, Life, and Post, the big with iconic Black covers, Diana Ross, Vida Blue, Sammy Davis. Yeah, hey people, excuse my language. She's pissing in tall cotton.
So hopefully
that's a whole Southern saying from down south back in the day when we was picking cotton and had 100-pound burlap sack on our back. But your mom, I'm so proud of you. And see, you all the stuff I don't even know about you, and I talk to you all the time.
So super excited about Ebony Power 100. We did, obviously, because of COVID, didn't get to do the celebration, which they hope to roll into 2021. And so they bring everybody. We were scheduled to go to Tyler Perry Studios. And the funny part about that is that when Tyler Perry Studios opened up his, had his big ball and all that. And I said to my daughter, I'm going to go to Tyler Perry Studios. Of course, at the time did not know that Amy Power 100 even existed. So hopefully that he will still be the host for that. And then in May, we found out we were Greater Kansas City Chamber's top 10, one of the top 10 businesses for the year, for the opportunity to either win a Mr. K Award or Diverse Business of the Year Award. And so, just another history for us and what God is doing in our lives and business is that there are very few businesses that apply for the top 10 award, receive the top 10 in the first year. And then we went on to win Diverse Business of the Year Award. So we're just grateful to really continue to set records. I think when it all correlates and connects back, I mean, that's what you do in sports, is you just keep striving to achieve even greater heights on what you want to do and achieve, and being competitive. I mean, we got great example of Patrick Mahomes that like keeps wanting to break records. And so that's an internal
That's your
drive.
man. That's your man. You always pointing to the number. I was like, who's this number 15? Looking at, ow! Hey, sis, don't hurt him like that.
So we also have been very fortunate that we opened up retail space in the pandemic, because it was just, and I was asked, so my high school's writing article about what would I recommend to the high school students today. And I said that there's so much power in knowing your purpose, fulfilling your purpose, instituting your purpose, and just sticking to that. There's an incredible joy and happiness in doing that. And it doesn't mean that you won't have moments of despair. Doesn't mean that you won't have moments where you want to cry. But what it does give you is that centeredness of just understanding I am in the place I'm supposed to be. And so I hope that someone will take that away and be able to utilize that. And we're just thankful. Like, we know that this time Black businesses are shutting down all over the country. And we know that it didn't have to be us. It's still standing. So check us out at our retail spaces.
Last woman standing. They always be talking about the last man standing. Hey, Cherry, you taking the cake, baby. I know it. You got the eye of the tiger, as they say.
So check us out at our retail spaces, Made in KC on the Plaza, also Made in KC in Leaf Summit. And definitely check us out online, cherrysportsgear.com. We have some crazy specials for the holidays that we're super excited that we're going to launch here.
What are some of your specials? Go ahead and do some shameless plugging.
Yeah, so we'll have different gift packages, and they will represent Kansas City, unique pieces about Kansas City. They'll all have a variety of different things, and you can choose those. So some will have tees that are kind of unique, and then some will have sweatshirts, and then obviously some will have
hey.
the denim of all, the Mahomes denim jackets as well, and then other trinkets in there. So we also will have like posters in there and things that are really affiliated with local.
That Mahomes jacket, because I was somewhere and seen the little girl in one of them. Yeah,
they're going well.
All right, because I've seen a lot of. Well, I didn't see two people in them. But they were both girls.
That's
Have any of the males buying that?
I can't necessarily. I think for the demographics of what I've seen, it has been very female, and I would almost say there's a demographic age too on those.
All right, yeah, because they look like they were college age, or they might even been young at finished college and in the workforce that I seen wearing it. I think I was at Costco's or somewhere. I was like, damn, Cherry stuff is coming off the racks.
Yeah, let's keep it coming off the racks. Yeah. Support local.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So in your closing words, what you got to say?
Wow. I already gave my powerful piece about purpose.
That's all right.
So my closing words
and you know what I wanted to say, ask you, and I definitely don't bring this up with nobody. Close out with your faith, because your mom and you, your faith, I think has a great contribution to your success also. Run that, close out.
I mean, barely following your heart. I mean, being centered in who you are. I mean, we overuse the word authentic, but following your heart really creates who you are to be authentic. Trusting your spirit. It's never led me wrong. And so trust your spirit, believe it. And oh wow, I just got chills about my mom. Trust in your heart and trust in your spirit.
All right, sis. As we always close out, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
This program is brought to you by Black Star.